If you're building with AI right now, there is one question you need to start asking before you launch your next feature. Not, can we build this? The real question is, what happens if this AI system causes harm? Because founders, vibe coders, startups, and employers are moving fast right now. They're integrating AI into products, workflows, hiring tools, health tools, financial tools, customer service tools, productivity tools, and decision making systems. And a lot of them are assuming that if the AI makes the mistake, the company gets to blame the AI. That is not how liability works. Quick note before we get into it. My name is Lisette Eusebio. I'm an attorney and tech founder, and this is my digital twin. I use it so I can move faster while I'm building, but the legal issues we're talking about here are very real, and I want to cover them. So let's get into it. The first mistake founders make is thinking about AI like it is just software. And traditional software usually follows predictable instructions. A user clicks a button, the system performs a task, the output is usually easier to explain. Well, we are not living in that world anymore. AI systems are different. AI can generate content, it can rank people, summarize information, and recommend decisions. AI can classify users, AI can flag risk, AI can make predictions and ultimately influence what a person does next. And the more your system influences real world outcomes, the more legal exposure you may be creating. That is where a lot of startups are going to get surprised because when you build an AI product, the legal system is not only going to look at the model, it is going to look at the entire chain. If it exists, we will find it in litigation. We will want to know, where did the data come from? What did the system do with it? Who relied on the output? Was there a human review? Was the user warned? Was the person affected given notice? Could the decision be challenged? Could the company explain how the output was produced? Those questions matter. And if the answer is we don't know, the AI just did it, that is not a strategy. That is a liability problem. One example is AI in hiring and employment. If a company uses AI to screen candidates, rank applicants, match people to jobs, or score workers, that system may affect someone's opportunity to get hired, promoted, or considered for employment. That means the AI output is not just a fun technical feature, it can cause harm and have real adverse effects on individuals. It may become part of an employment decision. And once your product starts influencing employment decisions, you are entering a much more serious legal environment. This is why cases like Kistler versus Eightfold AI matter. In that case, the plaintiffs allege that Eightfold's AI system collected and analyzed data about people and generated employment-related rankings or scores in a way that should trigger obligations under existing law. Eightfold disputes those allegations, and the court still has to decide what applies. I covered that case in a different video. Now let's talk about another risk area, data. Every AI system depends on data. Training and user data, scraped data, uploaded data, third party and internal company data. And founders love saying, well, the data was public. That does not automatically solve the problem. Public does not always mean free to use for any purpose. A website can be public and still have terms of service. A data set can be accessible and still be restricted. User information can be visible and still raise privacy concerns. Content can be online and still be protected by copyright. So if your startup is scraping data, feeding it into AI, using it to train a model, or monetizing outputs based on that data, you need to understand what rights and liability you actually have. Because if the foundation of your AI product is built on data you were not allowed to use, the legal problem is not sitting somewhere in the future. It is sitting inside the product from day one. And that can become a major problem when you try to raise money. Investors may ask where your data came from. Acquirers may ask whether you have rights to the material your system uses. Enterprise customers may ask about compliance. Regulators may ask how personal information is processed. And if your answer is vague, that is not just a technical weakness, that is a business risk. Another issue founders need to understand is user reliance. This is especially important for products that give advice, recommendations, or guidance. If your AI tool gives financial guidance, health guidance, legal guidance, hiring recommendations, risk assessments, or compliance suggestions, users may rely on that output. And if the output is wrong, misleading, biased, or incomplete, the question becomes, who is responsible for the harm? You cannot assume that a disclaimer will save you. Disclaimers matter, but they are not magic shields. If your product is designed in a way that encourages people to rely on the AI output and then the output creates harm, a court may still look at the design of the product, the marketing, the warnings, the level of human oversight, and whether the company acted reasonably. That means the user experience matters. The onboarding and language matters. The product claims matter. The marketing page matters. The emails and the screenshots matter. Everything you say about what the AI can do may become evidence against the company later. So, this is why founders need to stop treating legal review like something they do after the product is already built. That is backwards. Legal risk should be part of the workflow. If your AI system is making recommendations, you need documentation. If the AI system affects opportunities, you need safeguards. If it processes sensitive data, you need privacy controls. If your AI system uses third-party content, then you need to understand rights. If it produces outputs people may rely on, you need warnings, review processes, and escalation paths. And if your AI system could create adverse outcomes for users, you need to think about whether people have notice, explanation, and recourse. That does not mean every startup needs to become a giant compliance department. This is not meant to scare you, but to get you start thinking proactively about how you are building with compliance in mind. But it does mean founders need to stop pretending that the excuse of we are just using AI is enough, because the legal system does not care that your product is new. It cares what your product does, who is harmed, who controlled the system, and who benefited. And it cares whether the company acted reasonably. So here's the practical takeaway. If you are building with AI, start mapping your risk in 4 layers. First, data. Where does your data come from, and do you have the right to use it? Second, output. What does your AI produce, and could someone rely on it? Third, impact. Could the system affect someone's money, job, health, rights, access, or opportunities? Fourth, accountability. Can your company explain what happened if something goes wrong? If you cannot answer those 4 questions, you do not have an AI compliance strategy. You have an AI liability problem waiting to happen. And this is where the startup world needs to mature very quickly, because the days of build first, ask legal later are going to become very expensive. AI is moving fast, but lawsuits move too, and regulations follow. Customers move too. And once your product starts getting traction, the scrutiny gets bigger. Now, that does not mean founders should stop building. It means founders need to build smarter, move fast, but document, automate, but supervise, use AI, but understand the data, launch quickly, but know where the risk is, because the founders who win in this next wave will not just be the ones who build the fastest. They will be the ones who can build, scale, and defend what they built. If you want a real case example of how these issues are already showing up, I covered Kistler versus Eightfold AI in another video. And that case is a good example of how AI ranking, employment decisions, and existing legal frameworks are starting to collide with AI compliance. So, if you are a founder, builder, employer, or attorney trying to stay ahead of AI law and compliance, please support the channel and subscribe. Also, share with other builders who need to hear this information, because this space is moving fast and the legal consequences are not theoretical anymore. They are already here.